Hello. Testing. Check, check, check. Let me know if you can hear me. Anyone? And let me know if it sounds okay, please. Mic's a bit low. Okay, how about now? Hopefully that's not too loud. Testing. Got sounds much better. Great. Is it good? It's better. Okay, it's good. Nice. Thanks for being here, everyone. Still getting set up, as you can see. We'll try to start soon. Last thing I really need to do is, so I'm going to be trying to play the multi-streams from the album. I need to figure out how to make sure that I can hear them and you guys can hear them, and we'll get the levels set, then we should be good. Sorry, I'll get to the chats later. Gotta handle the technical stuff right now, but appreciate you guys being here. I wasn't sure if anyone was going to show up, but we got people. Pretty tight. Okay, so what am I doing? Okay, I'm opening Reaper. I'm opening a new session of Reaper because I'm already using one for my mic. We're running a second session with a different audio device. And I'm going to pull up the tracks in there. Direct sound. Output device. Okay. All right. So you can still hear me. I still sound good. Here's Reaper. And get this right size. All right. We can see Reaper. Can we hear Reaper? Can we hear Reaper? We can't hear it yet, but maybe soon. No, okay, I'm gonna try to not blast your ears, but you never know what's gonna happen. We'll see. You never know. Okay, here's a bunch of tracks coming in. Boom, we got tracks. Okay, I'm not gonna play them all at once super loudly. That would be a mistake. I'm gonna turn this master way down. I'm going to play one of them, just the snare drum. This is our sound check here. Okay, that's really quiet for me. Can you hear this at all? You should be able to hear this. It's really quiet though, right? Hopefully that's not destroying you. Okay. Still super quiet? I'll wait a little bit, there's a delay. Still super quiet. Yeah, it appears to be much quieter than my mic. Okay. So I can't really make it much louder than this for me, so I need to make it just louder for you guys. How do we do that? Thank you for bearing with me. Not much of a streamer. But I will figure this out. Gain. Nice. Okay, I can just boost the gain here. How about 9 dB? Okay, how does this sound? That's still probably a bit quiet, huh? Wow. Okay. Now we're cooking. Do we agree? Better? Is that good? It's better, but is it good? Because I can make it louder still. We're getting somewhere. Okay. Not quite there yet. Okay. Getting somewhere. Okay. Okay, that should be pretty loud based on the meters. It's gonna get, okay, here's the thing though. It's gonna get louder because that's just a snare drum. That's okay. I'm not gonna lie to you, this might be really loud. But we gotta start somewhere. Let's see. Okay, here's the overhead mic. No, here's the room mics. That's not louder, right? Sounds good now? Okay, and can you hear my voice still? Like, is my voice relative to the music good? Yeah, it's a good balance. Okay, keep me posted, please. I can change all this as needed as we get into everything, so please let me know if you need different balance or whatever. All right, great. Okay, cool. So, almost ready. I'm just going to change this text to nativeconstructstore.com. Put that here. Looks a little crazy, but that's okay. All right. Can we duck the music to my voice? I would love that, but no, I don't think I have the ability to do that because I have to have my voice in a different Reaper session than the music, because if it were in the same session as the music, then I would hear it like delayed and it would scramble my brain. So I can't do any ducking, unfortunately, but that would have been a good idea. I'll probably just do a lot of pausing anyway when I'm talking. Okay, what time is it? Okay, 4 minutes late. That's not too bad. All right, we're cooking. Let me pull up this. All right, we have tens of viewers across YouTube and Twitch. That's pretty tight. Who would have known? Tens of viewers. Okay. Unfortunately, I missed a bunch of chat. Maybe I'll go back later if we have time, but I'm just gonna press on for now. Feel free to resend messages if you were saying stuff earlier. So yeah, it's crazy that this album Quiet World came out over 10 years ago now. It was actually like mid 2015 when it came out, I think. So it's been like basically 10 and a half years now, and we still have people who care about it. I really can't stress enough how crazy that is to me. Like, when we first started the band, like, obviously we hoped that it would do well, but really it would have been shocking if you would have told us at that time that like 10 years later people would still care enough to buy vinyls of the album 10 years later and a bunch of other stuff and show up for a live stream. So thank you guys so much. It's really an awesome thing, truly. So yeah, today I just wanted to do a little celebration of the album, and I think mostly what I'm going to do is go through these multi-tracks. These are, by the way, for sale in the store if anyone wants to take a crack at them yourself. It's just, yeah, it's all the individual tracks from when we recorded the album. What album? So yeah, maybe a bunch of you don't know about this. Actually, that's a good point, because I'm streaming on YouTube, and actually most of my YouTube subscribers are just from like the music theory stuff. Some of you know me from my old band, which is what I've been talking about. But yeah, a lot of you are just like general music theory fans. That's cool too. So for anybody who doesn't know, I was in a band, yeah, like 10 years ago. It's a prog metal band called Native Construct. And we had an album called Quiet World that apparently people still like. It's pretty niche. It's it's like really weird, crazy prog metal music. But if you're into that kind of thing, you might enjoy it. Anyway, yeah, I was saying mostly what I'm going to do is just go through the multitracks from this album. So these are like the actual individual tracks that we recorded when we were making the album. This is exactly what we sent to the mixing engineer. So it's like all the individual tracks. So it's kind of cool because, it's such a dense album. There's so much stuff going on it. It's like super, like I would call it maximalist. So the result of that is that there's a lot of stuff that's really hard to hear in the final mix. Like there's so many layers that there's just a lot of things that I think probably a lot of you haven't noticed consciously, even though you may have heard the music a bunch of times. Because every time I go back through these multi-tracks, I'm shocked at what's in here. There's some pretty interesting stuff. So we'll just go through and kind of listen to the stuff. And this is all raw, unmixed, so you can hear kind of what it was sounding like when we were actually recording. If anybody, by the way, has any particular things they want me to solo or play or whatever, feel free to let me know. I'm going to try to look at the chat. This stuff, streaming is hard, man. You gotta have a lot of brain power for this. I'm going to try to not ignore the chat. Starting right now, I'm looking at it. When I look over here, this is the chat. All-time favorite album by far? Wow, that's crazy. Yes, this will be a VOD, probably on hopefully YouTube and Twitch. Okay, here's the other thing. It is entirely possible that this is all going to get taken down and muted or whatever because of copyright shit. Even though this is my music that I wrote and recorded, I still don't really have control over the copyright thing because it is the music is via Metal Blade Records, and there might just be like automated copyright takedown stuff. So I've taken no measures to prevent that from happening. So we'll see what happens. I don't even know what I could do about it. So hopefully the VOD doesn't get nuked, but it'll be there otherwise. Okay, anyway, back to the chat. Thank you. Yeah, Jamie King. Jamie King did the mastering, which that's a good thing that you just brought up. So Jamie King mastered the original album 10 years ago, the digital release. And he also did a remaster for this vinyl release that we just put out today. Because you need to have like a special type of master to put the music on vinyl, because it's just like a very different medium than digital. And so it's pretty interesting if I don't know if any of you are like audiophile type people. I guess some of you are if you're into vinyl, but it's actually quite a different sounding master. Honestly, in many ways, it's lower fi, because there's just less like bandwidth on a vinyl. There's just less headroom. So you have to kind of squash things a little bit to get it to fit in terms of dynamics and in terms of like frequency spectrum. Like you can't have as extreme highs or lows. Apparently I didn't know any of this stuff. I'm not really a vinyl person, but I just learned all this during this process. And yeah, so it's almost like and also the stereo image needs to be less wide also. So it's almost like a lower fi master that Jamie King did, but it's actually, I think it's kind of cool, and I'm not just saying this. I think it's actually very cool because there's, there's a lot of digital stuff on this album, like virtual instruments, MIDI type stuff. And it almost feels like this vinyl master kind of like glues everything together and gives it more of a like analog feel. It's kind of like a filter, kind of like analogifies everything. And I think it actually sounds really good. So there's that. It's pretty interesting if you care about like mastering and sound. Okay, anyway, back to the chat. Who did the mix? Rich Mauser from the Mouse House Studios. And he did a great job, honestly. This is like, honestly, a fucking nightmare mix project. There's like, I mean, you're going to see, there's like a million tracks. And there's so much going on, so much like really loud stuff going on a lot of the time. Oh, maybe I was just far away from the mic if it was low. I'll try to stay on it. Thank you for the feedback there on the mix. But yeah, it's so the actual mixing project for this album, crazy difficult. And to be honest, we had a very small budget because we were just college kids. So Rich Mauser worked with us on a very tight budget and worked with this nightmare project. We had a lot of notes for him because we were very specific about how we wanted things to sound. He took all the notes. He did like a million iterations for us, and he did, yeah, I'd say a fantastic job. One thing that we really wanted out of the mix was to have like a pretty, like, what's the word? A pretty natural balance between all the instruments, because there are a lot of instruments. And what we really didn't want was like, I think it's very common for like metal music to be mixed like, okay, here's like the metal band as the core, and it's like very forward, like the guitars are really loud, the drums are really loud, and then here's like the strings and stuff like way in the background, or kind of like just on top of the metal band, which is really like center stage. But we wanted it to be like, just, this is the whole ensemble and all the instruments are kind of equal. It's not like a metal band plus other stuff. It's like this whole ensemble where like the guitars and the drums are just some parts of it. So that was kind of like our main vision for the mix. And yeah, Rich Mauser did a great job with that. And then the other thing was we really wanted dynamics, right? Because everything's so squashed these days, especially in metal. And we have a lot of dynamics in the composition. Didn't want to lose that in the mix and master. So both Rich Mauser and Jamie King, I think really helped bring those ideas to life. I'm pretty happy with the way it sounds, especially considering the budget. Like, obviously, if we had like, $1 million to spend on it, it could have sounded a lot better. But for the budget, we really can't ask for better than that. Okay, back to the chat. Yeah, if I'm missing your messages, feel free to just resend them, because I am going to miss a lot. Was this a Berkeley exam or a final project type thing? No, it was not. So, okay, Chromatic Lights, I think that's track 6, the little like interlude track, that I did use as, not like a final project, but just like it was a homework assignment. I decided to kill 2 birds with 1 stone because I really needed to write that track for the album, and I really needed to have this homework assignment turned in. And they happened to both kind of work. So I just used it for both of the things. But as for like the band as a whole, no, it wasn't really part of school. I mean, it was part of school in the sense that we were in school at the time, and we were really like using a lot of the things we learned in school in the album, like in the composition process. But that's it. It wasn't like specifically for an assignment. Okay. I made a cringe drum cover. I probably saw that then. I like to watch the covers, even the cringe ones. Oh yeah, I haven't heard BTVM's latest vinyl release. You did a guitar lesson video. Oh, I don't think I saw that actually. Lesson video. That's cool. Atmos mix. To be honest, I don't even really know what Atmos is. That's like is that like a spatial, like a virtual spatialization thing? What drum kit was used on the album? Okay. Is it still quiet? I might need to just raise the level because I'm gonna probably be a little far away from it sometimes. Let me fix my posture. Okay, does anybody else think it's quiet? Okay. I need more data. Who else has an opinion on? Okay, sounds good. Okay, that's 2-1. I'm gonna go with that for now, unless I hear from other people. I'll leave it where it is. Okay, cool. Okay, what drum kit was used on the album? Okay, good question. So this is Superior Drummer 2 is the drum kit. Programmed drums, with the exception of the first track we recorded, Chromatic Aberration. So actually the last track on the album, the first track we recorded, we actually had a drummer at the time. When we recorded the rest of the music, we were between drummers. But for the first track, we had a great drummer named Anthony Barone. I'm sure some of you know him. He's still a very active metal drummer. And he recorded the drums for Chromatic Aberration on an electric drum kit in our dorm practice room. Okay, so at Berkeley, we're not allowed to practice in your dorm rooms because if everybody was doing that all the time, it would be chaos. But there's like sound isolated practice rooms like down the hall in the dorm. So he set up a drum kit in one of those with a laptop, and it's just like this little closet, and he recorded just the craziest drum performance you could possibly imagine in this tiny little closet. He was really good. He is really good. And yeah, so it's all MIDI drums on the whole album, but and they're all programmed by me, like with MIDI painstakingly, except Chromatic Aberration. That's actually an electric kit. So yeah, we'll hear some of that. I'm gonna actually start playing the music soon, I promise. Yeah, GGD drums. I've heard the like a lot of the demos they have online. Sounds like they've kind of been pushing the envelope on the MIDI drum technology. I haven't gotten a chance to use it myself yet, though. All right. We still have tens of viewers. Have not lost any. That's great. Okay. So, for a guitarist, the program drums play out well. Thank you. Yeah, for a guitarist. Got the tab book from Sheet Happens. Thank you. Yeah, the riffs certainly whack. It would be tough to play them anymore. I haven't practiced that stuff in a long time. That stuff was hard for me. We wrote all that music, like, or most of it, like in notation software, and then we just had to like go back and figure out how to play it. So that was tough. It's not like I like could already play it as I was writing it. I had to like really practice. So I'm way out of practice on that stuff now. Yeah, sometimes guitarists program impossible stuff. Certainly, yeah. I tried to really not do that. I tried to I was just constantly like imagining if I were behind a kit, like could I actually have the limbs to hit the things at the right times? And I tried to make everything physically possible. It's like ridiculously hard, but it's physically possible. I play a little bit of drums myself, so I kind of know. Yeah, I do play drums. What instruments do I play other than the drums? I play the guitar. I play a little bit of drums. Obviously, like bass. I played violin in like elementary through high school, but I haven't done much of that in a while. I'm probably washed. And like viola, and just a tiny bit of keyboard, just enough to like plunk out chords when I'm doing like music lessons to just demonstrate like types of chords and stuff. Just enough for that. Okay. So I'm gonna actually play some of this stuff, and I'm just gonna kind of look through. There's not much of a direction to this. Just gonna kind of look at whatever seems interesting. If anybody wants to hear anything in particular, say the word. Drum parts play like a drummer, where you'd come up with good natural placement. Yeah. Okay. So okay, first thing I need to show you is this intro. This is mute. This is the beginning of the whole album. Okay, so you heard right there. There's like a. Let me know if anybody can identify what this is. There's like a little voice in the background. Wait, I think we missed it. Yeah, there it is. You hear that? It's like, ah. Anybody hearing that? Anybody know what that is? Nobody's got it? Okay, so it's... You hear it now, but never noticed it before. Okay, so it's Jeff Goldblum, actually. It's Jeff Goldblum. It's the Goldblum laugh from Jurassic Park. This is a central motif of Quiet World, the sample of the Jeff Goldblum laugh from the original Jurassic Park. I'll play it again now that you know what it is. It's you know, we fucked it up a lot, but that's the original sample. So the album actually starts and ends with Jeff Goldblum. So I'll play it, you know, when we get to the end. I'll show you. But yeah, it's in there. We just, you know, it was a meme. It was really funny at the time. I think it's still kind of funny. I saw a Reddit thread once of, I think it was Reddit. There's like, some people had noticed that it was Jeff Goldblum actually, and there was like some very serious discussion in the thread about like what does it mean, like why is it Jeff Goldblum's laugh, and like they were like seriously analyzing like what that could be a metaphor for, and that was very nice for me to read. Okay, anyway, so that's the intro. And so that's where everything starts. Here's just a little bit of the drums, just so you can hear what the mixing engineer was working with. Okay, so again, here's the room mics. So yeah, all programmed, but it's not, you know, Superior Drummer is pretty good even back then. Sounds pretty good. You know, obviously it's very raw. It needs a lot of processing to sound like a polished metal mix, but it sounds pretty natural. Here's the overheads. Okay, so that's drums. Never knew they were programmed. Wow, that's great to hear. Here is, okay, the guitars. I think there's gonna be a lot of guitar stuff that I'm gonna be showing. because yeah, there's just like, it's just hard to hear the guitars sometimes in the mix. And again, that was kind of intentional. We didn't want the guitars to dominate, but there's some cool guitar stuff that I can try to highlight. So here's the intro. Yeah, like this stuff, these palm mute things, it's kind of hard to hear that. It's by the way, this is like, I think a really important feature of this album was the guitar tone. Music is very loud relative to my voice. Yeah, I'll just turn it down some. It's gonna be hard to keep this balanced because there's like a lot of different there's a lot of stuff that's like louder or softer that I'm gonna be playing. But anyway, yeah. So the guitar tones, like I think really important that we had like this very particular tone. It's Axe FX 1. If anybody plays guitar, you probably remember. I mean, if you're as old as I am, you probably remember Axe FX 1. It was all the rage. It was revolutionary when it came out. And I think it sounds really good still. I don't know what people are using these days. Probably not Axe FX 1, but I still got mine. You can't see it. It's right there. And it's like the Fractal Audio Systems Modern amp in the Axe FX. And it's I don't remember what cab sim it is, but okay, here's the trick with here's the secret to the Quiet World rhythm distortion guitar tone. It's like yeah, very good. There's a tube screamer in front of the amp, and there's like actually very, very little distortion. Like so little distortion that it's like very difficult to play on the tone. Like you have to be really precise with the picking or else like the note just dies. It's like really annoying actually to like, you have to play super clean, but we get like a nice clarity obviously by not using too much distortion, which is really important because we're very often playing like way too many notes on the guitar at once, like really dense chords with distortion and sometimes pretty low, you know, it's 8-string guitar. So like that gets muddy really fast. So we have to have like very little distortion and very little low end. The guitars are high pass filtered at like 100 hertz, or maybe even like 150 or something like that. 100, 150 hertz, which is very tight. There's like no bass in the guitar tones. I would leave all that room open for the actual bass instruments in the mix. And again, that's really important because there's often like really low distorted chords in the guitars and that gets muddy so fast. You can't really have bass or distortion. But you know, they still sound big and heavy in the mix because there's, you know, they fit in to the mix. Okay, so here's some more of that. Yeah, this like super like scratchy, tight palm muted sound. These are kind of like black metal inspired chords. Yeah, yes. So we'll get to some vocals. Good idea. Let me make these smaller so I can see what they are more easily. Okay, so here, that's the guitars right there. There's a bunch of stuff going on. I often like to listen to the organs because you can't really hear them very clearly usually. And obviously, we use a ton of this music box. These are all just virtual instruments, obviously. Yeah, the bass is, yeah, no distortion on the bass, almost ever. Super clean bass. Yeah. Nice. Sorry, by the way, some of these, we're, just to be clear, we're multi-streaming. We're on Twitch and YouTube, in case anybody didn't know. So I'm looking at both chats. So if I sound crazy responding to things that don't exist, it's probably just from the other chat, FYI. But that's hilarious, Chris. Love that for you. Okay, vocals. And this is totally raw. There's no reverb or anything. So one thing about the signature vocal sound is it's like super duper compressed. There's actually like very little dynamics in the vocals. I mean, there's some dynamics, and we add more dynamics in via automation during the mixing, but you can see like the actual raw tracks. Look at this. It's like pretty rectangular. Look at this, man, squashed. But that's the sound. It makes it sit really clearly in these dense arrangements. Okay, here's some vocals.
I'll mold a world to accept my condition.
And here's just all the vocal tracks.
World to accept my condition. Will be odd no more.
Yeah, so these backup vocals, we recorded these all. Yeah, I'll talk about. Okay, yeah, good question. What mic? So okay, we started recording the lead vocals in Jamie King's studio in North Carolina on a Neumann U87 in his basement, in his ISO booth in his basement. And we actually recorded the whole album, all the lead vocals that way. And then when we were done, we were listening back to the tracks, because it was like we had to go through it pretty quickly because we were like on the clock, like we were paying by the hour, I think. So like the longer we took, the more expensive it was. We were poor, so we had to just kind of get through it. So then when we were listening back to what we recorded, there was like a ton of stuff that like we were not happy with, actually, because we just needed to do more takes. So we re-recorded like most of the lead vocals, actually. And it turns out we actually were just able to use a studio from school, like one of the school studios. We were able to just like book studio time. And we had to do it like in pieces because we could only book like short blocks of time at once. But they also had a Neumann U87 there that we could borrow. So we tried to get it sounding as close as possible to Jamie's setup, but it's, there's only so much you can do. It's the same mic, but it's like, everything else is different, including the room. So we did our best, we recorded stuff until we were happy with it that way. And then I did a lot of like EQ matching to try to get the two different mic environments to blend nicely. I think it worked out fine. You can't really, there's no moment where it feels like, oh, we're switching to a different mic here. You can't really tell in the final mix. But so that's the mic we used. But then for like the backup vocals, that was just for the lead vocals. For the backup vocals, we did that all just in my bedroom. What mic did we use? Man, I can't even remember what mic it was. I don't think I had this mic at the time. It was probably just like a cheap condenser mic, like probably like a $40 condenser mic. And I think we had an SM58 at the time as well. But so these backup vocals were all just in the bedroom, and we recorded just one person at a time. And we did like, I think like 6 different takes of each, like 6 unison doublings of each note in the chord voicing, per person. and we had like me, Rob, Max, and Gabe all doing it. So there's like a billion different voices here, and we just stack them all up so it sounds super thick, pan them, they're really wide. So this is the kind of sound we got.
My condition will be odd no more.
So there's like a bunch of voices there, but we, make sure they're all really tight rhythmically. So they, it doesn't, you can't really tell that there's that many voices, but it just, the result is it just kind of subtly sounds really thick. Reading chat here. Were we confident that it was going to end up sounding good prior to sending the tracks to the mixer? And did I try to mix it myself in hopes of avoiding having to pay someone else to do it? Good question. Not at all. Not confident at all. Well, I wasn't confident about any of this, honestly. Any of this whole process of making this music. Had no idea how it was going to turn out. I had no idea how it was going to be received. This has all been a series of pleasant surprises. Yeah, and honestly, the first mix we got back was really discouraging. It was not nearly where it needed to be, and we were hoping that by doing more iterations of notes and stuff that we could get it to a place that we were happy with, and fortunately that did work out. But yeah, definitely had no idea that it was going to end up sounding good at first. I never thought that I would be able to mix it myself. Really, I'm not that good at mixing, but I did like demo mixes just while we were working on the music, just to facilitate the working process. I had rough demo mixes. They don't sound good though. Was working with Jamie King intimidating? Trying to remember. I think it was more exciting than intimidating because we were huge BT Bam fans, huge Jamie King fans. Working with him was the dream. So yeah, we were just really excited. I think. I mean, it was a little intimidating, but he's really good at making you feel comfortable in there. I mean, that's his job. He's been doing it for so long. So yeah, we felt it was a good atmosphere in there once we got to work with him. Go over significant motifs and themes. Love to hear. Yeah, I'll try to get to some of that. What was the writing process like? Heard it in tabs first, but how did you get excited to finish writing? Yeah, I would be a Reaper guy. What was the writing process like? I'm gonna just play some of this. The writing process. Here's this. So the writing process was, it was almost entirely written in notation software, in Guitar Pro 5 specifically, actually. And we just made very meticulous scores for the whole thing. Every layer was in there, pretty much. And the process was, it was mostly me and Gabe, the other guitar player at the time. And Robert did some as well, but mostly me and Gabe. And it was mostly Gabe was kind of the ideas guy. He would come up with a lot of the initial ideas. And I was the flesh it out guy, where he would send me stuff that was kind of a mess, and I would bring it to life and fix it up, optimize it, and we'd send guitar profiles back and forth. And we're just doing it between classes and stuff, after school, that kind of thing. It took a long time. It took us years to finish writing it. We weren't totally focused on it. We were doing a lot of stuff at the same time, but yeah, it took us years to get it done. It's really, there's a lot of notes, to think about, and every note has to be accounted for. Every single interval between, this instrument and that instrument and that instrument, all the different notes that you're hearing at the same time. I have to account for all of them. They gotta all be optimized. Can't have any wrong sounding intervals. So there's a lot to think about. It's complicated stuff. But yeah, I really like this part. Congrats on 10 years. Thank you. Oh, you saw us open for Intronaut. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that was so long ago. Can't believe it's been 10 years either. But yeah, so that was the BT-BAM tour that we did. We opened for BT-BAM, and it was also Enslaved and Intronaut on the bill. We were the opening band, and that was, talk about intimidating. That was like the scariest possible thing at first, because we had never done any tour ever when we got that tour offer. So we just did like one little one like beforehand to try to prepare, like to just like figure out how to tour. And we learned a lot on that little tour, but there's no way we could have been like prepared to just jump into, like, we were playing like House of Blues size venues on the BT-BAM tour, like a lot of people. And we were like, in high school, I was like the biggest possible BT-BAM fan. Like, they were absolutely the number one influence behind Native Construct. So like, we really didn't want to mess that up. It was like the dream tour, a lot of pressure. Had never done anything like it before. A lot of people. So I remember, the first show we did on that tour, it was like they started off the tour with like a smaller one as just like a warm up, I guess. And thank God we had that, because we kind of botched that first one. I think we were just like really nervous and just not comfortable. But then I think that we were able to find our stride, find our groove with that tour pretty quickly. And by the end of it, we were like very confident, I think, because, when you're playing a show every night for like a month straight, you start to like learn how it's like, after you've had like a handful of successful performances, like back to back to back, you very quickly just like learn that it's like, it's likely to go well, because it like has been going well. So like the nerves go away pretty quickly once you just like do a couple of good shows. That really helps, because like, and then it becomes really fun and exciting, because it's like, I'm pretty sure this next show is going to go well because the last 10 did. And so I can just like enjoy that now, and it's fun. So yeah, by like, after a handful of shows, we were doing fine, I think, on that tour. I'm glad you guys liked it, whoever saw us on that. Yeah, I play without a pick. I do use a pick for this stuff, but it's like a finger pick. It's like a brass thing that goes over my index finger. And I wish I had one nearby. I don't, but I like just pretend like my finger is the pick, and I kind of like hold it as if it were a pick. But which is nice, because then all my fingers are actually free to do like finger style stuff also. But yeah, it's kind of weird. I used to, when I was a kid, like learning how to play, I was self-taught on guitar, and I just always hated picks. So I used to just use my thumb, which is crazy. And I later found out that wasn't really going to cut it. I had to do something closer to a pick, and I switched to the index finger thing. Okay. Anyway, let's play some more of this. Yeah, so this is actually one of my favorite parts on the album, this whole like middle section with the karazoos. I just really like I like the groove a lot. Let me play some of the drums and percussion. Here's the drums. What happens if I just put all the drum tracks on? Yeah, it sounds okay. So it has this cool thing where it like switches back and forth between like 6/8 and 4/4, or like 5/4 at times. So there's like this like compound versus duple feel where it switches back and forth. Compound, for all the music theory people, meaning like 3 beats per, like 3 subdivisions per beat. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's compound. And then like da 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 2 per beat. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. That's duple feel. So it's like this switching back between the 3 and the 2 feel, switching back and forth. I kind of like the way it happens in this groove.
He has created us from a point of view we did not choose. We are all broken. Singing.
There's this cool percussion thing that comes in, which you can't hear that well in the final mix right here. And it just, the percussion is just meant to like accent the kind of changes in feel of the groove. So. Three, four, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I got tripped up there. That's the 5, 4. But yeah, it's like the 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh. 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that back and forth thing I always felt like is kind of nice. And then like the melody that goes over it. Hopefully it's not too bad. One regret I have is that I played this guitar part like really poorly, I think, here. So this is like the left panned clean guitar. It just sounds like really kind of, like it was kind of fat fingering the chords. It's just kind of like, I should have played them like more delicately and maybe like with some more effects. I think it's just like it's a very like dry, clean sound. I think I could have played the other guitar better too. This is the other guitar. Coming up right here. I do like the melody though a lot. So okay, yeah, somebody asked about themes and motifs earlier. Here we are. So yeah, that was like one of the main things we were doing compositionally on this album was we were really, really focused on motif. We were trying to make sure that like every single thing that you hear throughout the entire album is thematic, motivic. So there's like a handful of like seed ideas. We could call those motifs or themes on the album. And yeah, everything is kind of derived from them. And this is probably like the main one for the whole album. This is the melody that's like the main theme of Chromatic Aberration, the final track. This melody. But we use it all over the place. So this is actually the first time. No, actually, I think we've already heard it a bunch of times at this point in this first track. This is like the most prominent. This is where we like really focus on it at this moment. But yeah, so it's like this is the main theme from the final track, Chromatic Aberration, but it's like it's not just in Chromatic Aberration, it's all over the place is the thing. And we were always like handing off the themes from like between different tracks. So like they all get kind of mixed around. And that like inspires a lot of story ideas too. Because like for a lot of the stuff, the music kind of inspired the story, and then also the other way around too sometimes. But yeah, very often it was like this motif really works here just musically. So like, how can we make that make sense with the story? Because the motifs kind of represent characters and feelings in the story. Because it is a concept album, right? So Gabe, my writing partner Gabe was more of the like concept story guy, and he did a very interesting job with that, I'd say. Anyway, so here's this melody again. this synth too. You can't hear this clearly at all on the album version, but this synth, because it like it changes every time. There's like some automation of the knobs of the synth happening over time, and so it kind of like grows, like the sound grows along with like the dynamics of the whole arrangement over time. You can hear it happening already, and it has like this percussive thing in it too. Right. I don't know if my camera is delayed relative to the audio, but hopefully that was on. Yeah, and that like electric sound, we use that several times in the album. Like that kind of thing. The old chromatic aberration playthrough video, wow, that's OG shit. I think that was the first thing we ever put out, the first piece of content we put out as a band. You too? Wow, that's awesome. How did we go about the literal metallic percussion? Literal metallic percussion. Are you talking about like the anvil smashing sample? I'm not sure what you mean, because that is metallic percussion. Karazu ni Mupatu, what's the story? It is just, so at this point in the concept, the idea was like the main character is sort of like, in some sense, like creating a universe, and that universe is conscious or has consciousness inhabiting it in some way. And we wanted to feel like the universe was like coming online. That's like this whole section is like, it's like a waking up, like a birth almost, like over the course of this whole section. And so the voices, these voices are like meant to just represent like the awareness of the universe. And this is just like their native tongue. It's just nonsense syllables. The Karazu ni Mupatu. We just came up with syllables that just sounded kind of musically nice. And it just, yeah, it's a very like loose symbol. What plugin is a synth? I don't know if I'm gonna be able to remember that. This was a long time ago. It might have been like Silence or something. I know I used some Silence, but I don't know, it could have been a few different things. I should probably pull in the actual album cut too, so we can compare things. 1 second. Do I have this even? Do I own Quiet World by Native Construct? Do I own? Yes, I own Quiet World by Native Construct digitally. And here it is. Okay, hopefully this is not loud. I'm going to turn it down just in case. Okay. Yeah, so here's the thing. And okay, actually, literally my favorite moment on the entire album, I think, is like just the way this section ends. I'll say this. I usually really don't like to even listen to this stuff, let alone like publicly, because it's just, it's hard to listen to your own stuff. It's kind of cringe. And I definitely don't like to like pat myself on the back too much, but it's the 10-year anniversary. Got to do it. I really like this part. The way this section ends, especially the string melody, is very like romantic, like Beethoven-y. or almost even like it's a little like French. It's like if it's like French romantic, I'd say. Um, like this thing here. Yeah, I feel like that's just a nice thing. It's so colorful and like dramatic, and just to have that like at this moment in the first track, I think is just like it's a nice like stage setter for what we're doing with this album. You listened to Quiet World in your teenage years? Yeah, that's crazy that like it's been so much time that like you were a teen then and you're not a teen anymore. That's crazy. I'm glad you liked it though. That's awesome. We make music for ourselves. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I do like listening to my own stuff. Like when I finish something, like I just finished it, I just like listen to it like a million times in a row. But then there comes a point where I often can't listen to it anymore. there's like a there's a lifespan on that for me. But you know, I come back to things from time to time. It's always interesting. And then yeah, big dynamics here. Like this is the actual final master right here. Look how not a brick it is. Like look, there's like actual like quiet parts. Isn't that crazy? And even within like some of these big sections, there's like you can see the punchiness of the drums. Like look, you can see transients. That's crazy. I don't know if you guys have looked at much like modern master waveforms, but like oftentimes they like literally look like this, like where it's just like totally bricked out. But this is what we got going on. So it's, you know, the album is, yeah, it's quiet. Exactly. It's quiet. It's actually like you got to turn up your volume a little bit when you listen to this album. But then you get dynamics, which is sometimes tight. I mean, I totally understand the desire to have no dynamic range in music. Like sometimes you don't want dynamics. It's hard to listen to dynamic stuff in the car, for example, anywhere where there's noise. It's tough. But, you know, I feel like people that are listening to this type of music are usually like, or at least often like actually like listening to it as like a primary activity, or at least like using like headphones or something. So yeah, dynamics. Y'all did this all in Reaper? Yeah. I mean, I didn't mix it or master it myself. We handed it off to Rich Mauser and Jamie King, respectively, to do those things. But all of the recording and editing I did in Reaper. Yes. Okay, this is, how long have we been going? At this rate, we will never make it through the album. It's already been like an hour. Okay, I gotta go faster here in terms of the multitracks. What else is there to show? Let's look at some of the like orchestral stuff. There's a lot of that. So this is kind of like the basic string chord patch that we use throughout the album. And it's, you know, it sounds pretty fake, especially if you solo it. It's like very MIDI sounding, I'd say. And you can even hear that MIDI-ness on the final cut. But I don't know, it's like, it feels very 2015 to me in kind of a charming way, I'd say. Like, yeah, it's just part of the vibe at this point of the album. It's like MIDI. There's tons of MIDI on the album. You gotta go. You love this album. So special. Thank you for uploading this. All right, thank you for this. I'll watch later if you want. Thank you so much for tuning in. Butts incarnate. Hope you enjoy it later. Yeah, nice charm to the MIDI vibes. You can barely hear this music box on the album too. Okay, so that's what's going on there. There's also like this. Never left the rotation for 10 years. That's crazy. Thank you. I'm glad you're liking it so much still. Yeah, this brass stuff. And then violins. So like the melodic violins. And this is all just Guitar Pro shit that I programmed into MIDI with the Reaper and a bunch of plugins. Yeah, so then there's this. These are like crazy chords here. Yeah, and like this percussive stuff, like rhythmic stuff. Little music box. I like this part too. I just say it's a nice ending. We got the big guitars back. Let's listen to the guitars here in this whole build-up section. Oh, hey, Zach. How's it going? Oh, let me mute the string chords here. And here we're just playing like just super dissonant chords. Like, I don't even remember what the notes are. They're like not actual chords with names. It's just like dissonant intervals. And let me switch to real chords here. Real chords. I'll let you guys hear here's just the raw lead. And the leads, the sound of the lead guitar, like the lead distorted guitar on this album, it's all bridge pickup. It's super duper. It's like ridiculously bridge pickup. So you get all those like overtone squeaky things in there, and it's like, again, like not much bass, more distortion than the rhythm tone, of course, but still pretty tight. Little harmonic at the end. We love the semi-harmonics. I guess I should solo these guitars. This is probably the hardest. This is either the hardest or second hardest guitar riff on the whole album, I'd say. I think it's up there with the like really technical distorted guitar riff in the second half of the second track, The Spark of the Archon. This one's hard also. It was really tough for me to pull off live. I had to practice it a lot. Yeah, and again, the tone has to be really tight for this kind of stuff, right? Like all those like really fast palm muted things where like the notes are very important still. Can't have a ton of distortion on those or bass, really. More time. By the way, in case anybody didn't know, these multitracks are actually for sale in the store, right over there, nativeconstructstore.com. Yeah, you can buy just all these tracks for the entire album if you want. Why would you want that? If you're crazy, you might want it. If you wanted to just like explore what's going on the whole album like this freely, you can listen to anything you want. You can hear, you can find all of my bad edits that are hidden throughout this. And you could also use these as like mixing practice, because again, this is like the hardest possible mixing project because there's so many tracks, so much crazy stuff going on. If you're interested in like mixing as a craft, this would be really, really good practice. You'd even use any of this for like remixing, like creative remixing. Like if you're making new music and you want to sample any of this stuff in it, you could do that. And I would personally love to hear if anybody does either of those things. I would love to hear the results. That would be super interesting to me. Okay, so that's Mute. There's obviously a ton of other stuff in Mute that we didn't get to, but let's just move on for now. Okay, we will not have time to go through every track on the album here. So shout it out in chat. What track would you most like to see me go through right now? And I'll just go with whatever gets the most mentions. I'll give you some time for that. Stream once a week. I don't know about that. I mean, I could do it more. Could definitely do it more. I don't see why not. Once a week might be tough just because, you know, it takes a lot of time and energy. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. Might do some more. It's nice that people enjoy it. We're still holding strong. Haven't really lost viewers over this whole time so far. That's pretty good. Okay, anyway. Come Hell or High Water, Chromatic Aberration, Spark of the Archon, Chromatic Aberration, Spark of the Archon. This is close. I should have done like a poll. Okay, it looks like Chromatic Aberration, Spark of the Archon, and Come Hell or High Water are the top choices. Maybe we'll have time to do all of them. Which one should we do first? Let's do Come Hell or High Water. Oh, Passage. Yeah, the one Passage guy is very telling. Just kidding. Kind of. Do I have the OG Chromatic Aberration files? Maybe. I don't think so, actually, but maybe. Probably not. Okay, now you're just saying every track. But okay, let's start with Come Hell or High Water. Okay, so I will delete all of these. I will go here on my other monitor, and I will do this. That's just the final master. And then I will go here. Standby. Oh, we got all the Passage enjoyers are coming out of the woodwork. I knew you guys were lurking back there somewhere. Okay. There. This is deep within my folders and subfolders. Multitracks. Come hell or high water. Loading. Okay, there we go. And there we go. And there we go. And there we go. Okay. Okay, first of all, actually, this is not. I was going to show you the click tracks because sometimes the click tracks even are crazy with like all the weird time signatures. But this one actually is mostly just 3/4 at the same tempo the entire way through. I think there's like a couple other things somewhere, but yeah, this track is actually very consistent in terms of tempo and time signature. I think this will be saved as a VOD. I intend to save this as a VOD. It might, I don't know if it's going to get like compromised, if the VOD is going to get compromised by the fact that I'm playing music that I wrote but is still copywritten and might be problematic in that way. But hopefully the VOD will be up. Pretty sure it should be fine. Okay. So here's the start with the guitar, of course. Let me go ahead and pan this hard left, hard right. So far this is exactly the same as the album version. Okay, so this just goes on for a while. We get drums. There's nothing too crazy here. Okay, here's something that it's this tiny little nugget of a thing that I really wish you could hear more in the final mix. I really like this guitar part, the guitar on the right side. There's just so much going on that you can't really hear it that well. But it's a really cool little like melodic, like middle ground melody texture. All right, let's just hear how it sounds now. Let me mute this. Yeah, so even now, you can like barely hear it. Okay, so let's mute things until you can hear it. So these strings are too loud. Yeah, so let's mute the main melody, the cello. So here it is on the right. Yeah, just a nice like counter melody. It's not the main melody, but it it fits in perfectly with all the other melodic and harmonic content at the time, because we made sure it did in Guitar Pro 5 very meticulously. But yeah, it's just a nice little melody on its own, and it just has like a nice kind of vibe to it, I think. And okay, it's a good example of like the classic, yeah, very Baroque. It's a good example of the classic like Quiet World guitar performance style, where like we were really into like ornamenting notes. Like we never wanted to just like play something straight up. There's always like little like vibrato on certain notes for emphasis, and like little slides into notes, grace notes, little semi-harmonic type things, palm mutes, really into articulations. So you can hear just a little bit of that in this riff too. So first like a little slide into that first note, and then there's like little vibratos on some of these notes. Like where do you wow, a little vibrato, where do you wow. That's classic Quiet World shit. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff like this that's just like we worked really hard to make sure it sounded really good in the composition, and you just can't hear it in the final mix, really. So if anybody gets these multi-tracks, you'll discover a lot of cool stuff like this. Okay, fun fact about these tubular bells. Okay, we like tubular bells in this chat. Where is it? Okay, tubular bells. So, okay, like these are like the tubular bells that they have like sometimes in symphony orchestras, like way in the back. They're like metallic bells that you hit with like a hammer. It's got that like church bell type vibe to it, which is why we're using them here for that kind of like gothic sound for tubular bells mentioned. You've been waiting for your time. It's tubular bell time. Okay, so fun fact, these samples that I used, they're just like, recordings of actual tubular bells. Tubular bells are like extremely rich harmonically. So you hit a bell and it's pitched to like a certain fundamental, but you actually hear like a ton of different notes when you hit it because of all the overtones. It's a very rich harmonic thing. So it actually was like fucking up the arrangement when I was using these bell samples, and I was hearing like a bunch of notes that I didn't actually want to hear because I wanted to hear the fundamental note, and then there were like a bunch of notes that were like clashing with other notes that were going on in the arrangement because there's so much going on. So what I did was very painstakingly for every note, I got out an EQ and like surgically cut out every harmonic that I didn't want to hear, which is sometimes like a lot. So that's why like when you hear it now, this is the final version, it's like very clean sounding. It sounds very clear. Like you just hear like the notes that you want to hear. But like real tubular bells don't sound like this. They're like much messier and like bigger sounding. Yeah, a lot of tedious shit like that in the making of this album. Okay, so here's this.
I still think to myself and wonder if this was
Here's some vocals for you.
worth it.
I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit. I like this part.
Oh, misery, your familiar face still
On that familiar face, I like how that hits the chord, that melody note against the chord.
Oh, misery, your familiar face still
Okay, so there's like a bunch of stuff going on here that is difficult to appreciate, I'd say, and it makes you want Taco Bell. It's funny. Very funny. There's a bunch of stuff here that's difficult to appreciate in the final mix because there's just a lot going on, so we can highlight some of that here. We got the tubular bells. Very clean tubular bells. Okay, I'll mute those. Or actually, I won't mute them. We got this castanets. Can someone tell me if the video is synced to the audio? This should be right on. These are the castanets. I'm just curious. So we got that going on. It's a little off. Okay, good to know. That's okay. We got the vocals.
and my feet won't rest or reoppress their pivoting.
We got that shit. Let's just mute the vocals and hear what's going on. Yeah, so this guitar, I'll go ahead and pan these. This guitar this is nylon string guitar. We recorded this in the Berkeley studio, like with an actual mic. This is not like DI or anything. All the electric guitars are just DI. This is an actual guitar in a room with a mic, 2 mics. And I'm not really happy with the sound we got, honestly. It's a little bassy, I think. So maybe mic positioning could have been better. But here's how it sounds. And there's actually some like crazy stuff going on with this guitar that you, again, can't really hear in the mix. So check this out. Actually, let me back up a little bit. So it's like a full-on like guitar part, but it's just one part of many in this arrangement. So there's that. There's the cello. This is a real cello. This is Rob, the vocalist, on cello. That's again like an actual cello in an actual room. An actual microphone. Here's MIDI upright bass. In octaves. Right? And then this harp part, I think is pretty cool. I always like try to listen for it in the final mix. It's there, but it's a little subtle. Where is it? There's too many tracks. I swear it's here somewhere. Maybe you're already seeing it. Maybe I'm blind. Oh, here it is. These are not in numerical order. That's the problem. I don't know how that happened. This harp part is kind of tight. Yo, Max, welcome. Yeah, I haven't seen the movie, but yeah, I'm sure you're right. There's no way it could be as scary. I'm glad you're here. Nice to hear from you. How dare I skip the guitar, viola, synth, patchy thing? Oh, yeah, that's a good point. So it's guitar. This is a guitar that I'm about to play. Everybody always tells me that they think it's a violin, which has always been just like incomprehensible to me. Like to me, it sounds nothing like a violin, and I don't get it. But I've heard that from so many people. They're like, "How'd you get the violin?" Or like, "Who played the violin?" Or "How'd you get the violin to sound like that?" At this point, and it's this is Gabe on guitar with like a weird synth thing going on. It's like oh man, I don't remember exactly what we did. Oh, I should just play it first. It's like pitch tracked ring modulation with like a pitched up an octave doubled type thing. And it's just like a arpeggio tappy type guitar part. So there's that for you. Okay, anyway, back to this part. Also, the background vocals here are kind of nice. Check this out. This is this is the thing we did a lot with the backup vocals, where it's like the backup vocals are almost like a narrator type character, or like they're like the peanut gallery. Like it's just like some sort of like commentary, like against what the lead vocalist is talking about, like story wise. So sometimes they're singing like the same lyrics as the lead vocals, and sometimes they're like singing stuff that's like just related to what the lead vocals are doing, and sometimes they're rhythmically aligned with the lead vocals, sometimes they're not. So here's some of this here.
Harmony, I never see your face around. Ooh, lunacy, that can't begin to explain how and now I can see.
Yeah, going into like the yell at the end there. I think we all just tore up our throats during that.
I can see.
Because remember, we had to do, there's like, I don't even know, there's like dozens of voices mixed into that stereo chorus there. So that's a lot of yelling. Anyway, here it is with everything else except for some things. Okay, these pizzicato strings at this point also, I would say, under noticed probably in the final mix. And they are somewhere around here. These tracks actually are organized in the folders. They're in these numerical orders that make a lot of sense, but for some reason when I imported them just now, I decided to just ignore that partially. But anyway, here they are. Very MIDI. Here it is, just soloed with the chords. Very, very chromatic passing tony. We do a lot of that. That's a very quintessential Quiet World flavor, I'd say. The chromatic passing tone. Right there. Or even just the chromatic approach note doesn't even have to be a passing tone. So like, okay, what that means is like you have a note that you're targeting. This is like the main note, and then you just like lead into that note with just like a chromatic ascent or descent. Or like maybe it's connecting two important notes together with like just the chromatic notes in between them. These are the approach notes or the passing tones, whatever you want to call them. So like for those notes that are just like approaching the more important note, you can actually just use like whatever notes you want as long as that horizontal motion like works out in the end. So it's like it injects like some exotic colors into the sound, because it's like usually notes that normally wouldn't be used with the chords of the moment, but it's fine because they're just like quickly leading into the notes that make more sense. So yeah, we do that a lot in this music. That kind of stuff. Okay. The lead into the screamed vocals there is one of my favorite moments on the album. Nice. Yeah, it's an epic moment for sure. One of the like, I'm gonna take this off. It's getting hot in here. One of the what am I trying to say? One of the like main philosophies that I definitely had in mind when writing this music and still have in mind as like a central philosophy anytime I'm writing music is to have very clear gestures in the music. If anyone here has done music lessons with me, you've heard me talk about this, certainly. You want to have, you usually want to have like clear like ups and downs, like, gestures. So meaning like a dramatic arc to the music. You want like stuff to happen. You don't want it to just be like kind of like flat the whole time. I mean, sometimes you do in like a trance like minimalist type of music, but for other music, you want stuff to happen, especially music like this. So I'd say this is a very good example of a gesture. This moment where like everything kind of crescendos into this big like climactic peak, and then we kind of enter a new place. It's just like just such a clear movement. And you can create that by just like having the idea of the movement just as like a broad strokes idea, just having that in mind, and then just making sure that all the different elements of the music kind of like do that together. And when you add them all up, it's like a very deep effect altogether. So that's kind of what's happening here. It's just like this big dramatic gesture. Not here. Here. They're already at like kind of a climactic moment, but it goes up even more. Right? Okay, and I have to solo the lead vocals here. This is this is the moment that somebody mentioned where it's like a transition from the singing into the screaming. Zach, I hope Zach is not here. Zach Ansley, you're gonna hate this. I'm just kidding. I hope you hear, but you're gonna hate this.
Pulse in 3, and now I can see this visible ray.
All right, so like the effect that you are supposed to hear in the final product is like the singing transitions smoothly into the singing, which is like actually very difficult to do for a vocalist. So we didn't actually record it that way. Like these are like he did the singing and then he did the screaming separately. But in order to make them like blend nicely, there's like a little bit of a scream happening at the end of the singing part. Also that you can just hear like a little bit of it.
Pulse in 3, and now I can see. Can see.
By the way, even just this note is like a high B natural for a tenor. That's like the limit to belt that for the typical tenor. I mean, I think even some tenors couldn't even hit that. Robert was able to do it. It's tough though, and this is a really hard part live for the lead vocalist to pull this off, especially because he has to actually go into the screaming live here right after like. And first of all, like the breath. Where's the breath? Like, what breath do you have left after all this?
Pulse in 3, and now I can see.
And you just have to go right into this. That's tough. So props to Rob for even attempting that live. Okay, so here's the screaming. We haven't really done screaming yet. So yeah, the kind of standard screaming sound on Quiet World is this is still. I'm pretty sure this is still a U87, which is like not always the mic that gets used for recording screaming. It is so sensitive, but we just like compress the crap out of it, and it's like a very bright, like gravelly sound, and it's always doubled. Right, so it's just like two unison, like two different takes of the same thing. So here's just one of them.
This festival ray you cast upon me, I'll be stuck in these steps for all eternity.
So, and sorry for anybody that doesn't like screaming, you're gonna hear some of it now. So the second take is just the same thing, but just, alternate take.
This festival ray you've cast upon me.
And so like they both sound fine on their own, but when you add them together, it really sounds a lot better because it covers up any of the little blips where like the voice isn't like fully. It's hard to like maintain the full strength throughout like every micro moment of even if one, like within one syllable when you're screaming. There's like the voice kind of wavers a little bit just naturally. And so when you double it, it kind of like covers that up, and it just kind of sounds thicker and stronger. So here it is together.
This festival ray you've cast upon me, I'll be stuck in these steps for all eternity. And who would it be if it were not me? My life, what's worth living, is enslaved by treachery. It seems to be that hell's high waters have brought forth to me an unspeakable horror.
All right, so that is some screaming for you. I really like the other stuff that's happening at this moment too. So I'll just mute the vocals. So okay, if anybody has been here since I was talking about mute towards the beginning, I mentioned the often underappreciated organ that is lurking in the background of some of these arrangements. This is the most organ part on the whole album, I think. It's like a super like gothic, like minor, harmonic minor organ. And you can barely hear it in the final mix because there's so much other stuff going on, but here it is. Just make it louder. Let me mute the guitars. They're the main thing that covers up the organ. So here it is. Okay, and let's listen to the guitars here. The guitars are kind of nice. Okay, there's a tiny little thing here that is also just, it's so subtle, but I like it a lot. So there's this, okay, so it starts on a minor chord and it just becomes major halfway through, which is also a chromatic approach note, if anybody remembers me talking about that a moment ago. So like you have, okay, the idea of a minor chord and then a major chord, those are vertical structures, but the difference between them is that one of the notes, you know, in the minor chord you have a minor third, and then in the major chord you have a major third. So the difference between them is that one of the notes goes up a half step when you switch from the minor to the major. So if you think about just that line, just the one note that is the minor third of the first chord and the major third of the second chord, that's a little chromatic movement, right? It's a half step movement, and then it moves up another half step to hit the scale degree 1, the one of the one chord, the root of the one chord that is the downbeat. So you get this little na 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 chromatic approach thing, and it's just like a minor chord becoming a major chord, but it's like on these chugged palm mutes, so you can barely hear it, but here it is. Yeah, you can barely even hear it when it's soloed, but ba, da, 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 da. And again, this is a classic Quiet World distorted sound. These like super like genty palm mutes. Almost like metallic sounding. This heavy section is always really hit live. It was somehow even more intense than the record, possibly because of this shit. Yeah, the drums are just silly in real life. That's true. Yeah, in fact, speaking of, that's a really good point you bring up now, Max, because there's some specifically very silly drums right after this, which I'll highlight. Here's both the guitars. Here's some 8-string, some extended range chug for you. So again, this is like what I was talking about earlier. For anybody that wasn't here, I was saying that these guitar tones have like no bass in them. They're high pass filtered at like 100, 150 hertz, something like that. So very little bass and like actually very little distortion too, less distortion than you would think. So we're actually playing like on the low, like on the 8-string guitar, the very lowest string, the low E string here. But it like still sounds pretty tight because you actually can't even hear like the fundamental frequency of the notes on those low strings. You're only hearing like the overtones because that all gets filtered out with the EQ. Which is fine because usually when we're playing that low on the guitar, the bass is actually just playing in unison with the lowest note of the guitar. Because we're so low that like the bass can't even be an octave below the guitars because they're big, thick guitars. So the bass is just playing in unison with the guitar's lowest note. So when you filter out the bass of the guitar, like the bass frequencies of the guitar, it's fine because the bass guitar covers them. So again, you can't even really hear the fundamental note here, but the bass gets that. So here it is with the bass. Without the bass. It's almost like really thin sounding. Do I still have the Agile? How do you know about the Agile? Wow, that's an old fact. The Agile. That was the first 8-string guitar I ever got. I think I got that guitar in high school and then took it to college with me. I do not have it. I sold it many years ago. I did, we recorded, I think, all of this or most of this on that Agile. Played an Ibanez 8-string guitar mostly, in the later days, like on tour and stuff, which is hanging up on my wall here. You can't see it, but it's there. Still got it. Okay, back to this. Okay, we heard that. Oh yes, okay, let's get to the drums. Let's get to the silly drums. This is all normal. Okay, so that's the silly part. It sounds like, you know, on the snare drum. Like you would imagine someone playing that with two hands, but the thing is, listen, they're also playing the hi-hat, right? So which means that you have to play that snare part with one hand. This is 300 beats per minute. So there's just, you know, it's possible, but there's just very few people in the world who can actually do that. That's like, you know, you have to be like a very good like death metal drummer to be able to play that fast. It's too slow for a gravity though. But yeah, I mean, some people can do it. So remember, I was saying like when I programmed these drums, the rule was it has to be physically possible, but it can be really hard as long as it's physically possible. So, you know, I really was redlining the drummers on some of these parts. So then it was, you know, it was a big challenge for them when they had to play it live. But we got some people to play it. It was pretty astonishing, actually. Yeah, Mangini could play it. Yeah, a lot of people. So, yeah, there's a handful of people that could play it. Another one there. Okay, so this is the same thing. This is still 300 beats per minute, but now this is a scissor blast, meaning so instead of just playing just the snare, that was bad. Instead of playing just the snare like that, you have to play both hands that fast, but alternating. So it effectively sounds twice as fast because it's like, sounds like this. It's just ridiculous. This is straight up silly drums. So again, like can be done technically, but extremely difficult. Yeah, the single high rototom. Yeah, that's just straight up comedy. There's a lot of comedy on this album, I'd say. Was Jake on the album? No. Jake was just live drummer. This is all programmed on the album. But it's, you know, superior drummer too. Even 10 years ago. Sounds good. Okay, let's skip ahead some. Yeah, nothing that interesting there. Actually, I'll just play a little bit of the guitars here. Just again, some of this like very tight, distorted tone stuff. Yeah, the chickas. We love the chickas. All right, there's that. Let's skip ahead a little bit. Yeah, let me pan these guitars, left, right. I'm just going ham on the whammy here. This was Gabe. Gabe had like a John Petrucci Music Man guitar with a whammy bar on it, and we used that for a lot of the clean stuff and some of the leads, I think, as well. That's definitely this. Yeah, this is the spooky. We always called this the Tim Burton section. That's kind of what we were going for. Little, I like this little thing here in the guitars. Just that little woom woom at the end. It kind of fits in with the arrangement nicely. Let's hear that. Dude, this album is amazing. I listened to it so many times. Any chance we'll see a vinyl release? I'm not sure if that's a joke, but you're in luck. If not, because nativeconstructstore.com vinyl came out today. I'm pretty sure we're not sold out. Thank you guys, by the way. Anybody who bought, I should have said that earlier. Anybody who bought vinyls or anything else, thank you so much. I really didn't know how this was going to do. We're doing very well with it. So that's awesome. 10 years later, we're selling a lot of stuff. That's just crazy. And so I said that now because I think we're actually going to sell out pretty soon. So if you want a vinyl, I'm pretty sure we're not sold out yet, but it's like, it could be like very soon. So get one while you still can, if you want one. And thank you again to everybody. This part always felt out of a Disney movie. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, fuck around with the tracks. This part is Lion King hyenas. Never heard that one before. That's great. I don't know how many are left off the top. I'd have to check. I got all this shit open right now. I can't really see, but last I checked, it was like probably like around 100, which is not that much. Nice. Thank you, Wavering Radiant X. Thank you so much. Okay. Yeah, anyway, this little boom, wow, wow thing like that. There's a lot of little details like that that you're just not going to hear them if you don't have the isolated tracks like this. Yeah, these are just like cartoon guitars. Any chance at unreleased material? Probably not. I'm sorry, probably not. Because there's just not much that's presentable. It's just like a bunch of like ideas and demos and stuff. But I will put out music again. I promise that when the time is right. It's not right yet, but it will be. That's definitely something that I want to do and need to do more of. Writing music, making music, putting out music. So yeah, I promise I will do that. I'll let you guys all know. Okay, so here's a very fun fact. This is, where is it? Okay, so these tracks, I don't know if you guys can read these track names. They're very small probably, but okay, these tracks that say synth, so string synth 2, choir synth. What I mean by synth is these are literally just like the Guitar Pro 5 MIDI sounds. Like these aren't even samples. These are just like actual MIDI audio. Because again, we're going for this like cartoon vibe. So like, listen to this. This is straight out of, I literally recorded this out of Guitar Pro 5. If anybody's used Guitar Pro, you know what this sounds like. Chromatic approach out there. You hear that? Okay, and here's the choir going on. Same thing, Guitar Pro choir. This is supposed to be a choir. This is a MIDI choir. So we didn't use like actual like MIDI sounds for anything on the album except for this part. Everything else is samples. And then here's the MIDI pizzicato. Like it sounds like a shitty electronic keyboard type thing. Check out these chords, man. Check out these chords. It's like super dense and low and nasty. Okay, here's all the Guitar Pro shit. Yeah, Final Fantasy VII. And so there's also like the real strings that like blend or like dovetail with that. Let's find them. Too many tracks. Too many tracks. Okay, there. Oh wait, actually no, sorry, that's just wrong. There's no real strings there. The real strings come in later. So here it is. It's fake strings and then it's real strings. Yeah, PS1 vibes. Yeah. And now the real, these are still samples, but they're like supposed to be real sounding. All right. Okay, let's just listen to this whole section. Okay, I guess I have to... First, actually, I have to solo the lead vocals here. This is the crazy falsetto part.
Oh. And as this weight is lifted, I'm now content as an amputee.
If, I don't know if anybody heard me talk about this elsewhere, but I've told this story. Max, the bass player, when we were recording this vocal part, the super high falsetto vocal part, Max, the bass player, it's so hyena, yeah. Yeah, I see what you mean now. Yeah, it's definitely, yeah. Anyway, so Max, the bass player, was like, this sounds terrible. Like we shouldn't do this. It's too like high and like crazy, like stupid sounding. And Gabe and I were like, yeah, that's the point. Like, it's not supposed to sound good. It's supposed to sound crazy and like terrible and like almost like comical. And so we were like, yeah, that's like, we're going to leave it. We're just going to leave it, even though he hated it. We had to kind of just override him as the composers. We pulled the rank on him and we just left it. And it is crazy. He's right. It sounds stupid and crazy. But again, that's like, this is a comedy album in a sense. Yeah, here's us doing crazy voices as the background vocals.
I'm sick of drifting. I'm sick of drifting. I'm sick of drifting. And as this weight is lifted, I'm now content as an amputee. You've used every
Let's smooth the vocals now. Somebody was asking about metallic percussion earlier. Sorry, I asked you what you meant by that. I didn't see if you replied. Maybe you did and I missed it. Feel free to reply again if you're here. Whoever was asking about metallic percussion, but there is some metallic percussion here. Maybe this is what you meant. Where is the track? Here it is, percussion and percussion 2. There's like that shit. It's like an anvil and other stuff. Actually, is that an anvil? I can't remember now. This might be just some jingly janglies. Or it could be like an anvil mixed in with other stuff. It's hard to tell, but it's metallic. Definitely metallic. Yeah, we got some of this going on. That little boing boing thing. Jaw harp. The 4th time you bought the album, thank you so much. Times 4. Backing vocal, the one that starts at "You've used every moment to torment me." Yeah, I can show that. I can show that.
You've used every moment to torment me.
There's a bad edit right there. You can hear that.
To torment me. Now severed and screaming, I will at last be free.
Free. That's another high B. Just like before, very tough.
Free.
Let's hear the guitars here. This is the same thing. It's like the low 8-string chug, but it sounds super tight still because it's all filtered out. The 8th string is just it's just like an idea, man. It's just a concept. It's not even real. And I'll tell you this, there was a lot of tuning going on during the recording of these guitar parts because they need, when you're playing like colorful chords with distortion, it's got to be perfectly in tune or else it just sounds like garbage. So yeah, just like literally between every take, just very meticulously tuning, and it just got to be perfect. So there's a lot of that, and I think most of these sound pretty in tune. Yeah, I'd say that's in tune. Yeah, what song are we doing next? Okay, I might have time for just one more, unfortunately. So what song do you guys want? Thank you, Muse. What song do we want to hear next? It's probably the last one. Okay, Aberration. Waiting for more data. Passage, chromatic aberration. I'm a Grandmaster water spiller. Chromatic aberration. Okay. All right. Chromatic aberration. You got me. The longest one. But yeah, that's a good choice. There's some shit on that one. I will show you the click track on some of this. This click track, it's nuts. I mean, maybe I will if I remember to. I intend to say that. This is a Christmas gift for the fans. Well, that's Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah. Glad you guys are enjoying it. Truly. Okay, so I mentioned earlier chromatic lights was used for a school homework assignment. It's this thing. Because it's a fugue, which is like a classical form of contrapuntal composition. Contrapuntal meaning there are multiple independent melodies that play over each other and like are each coherent, satisfying melodies on their own, but also when you put them all together, they work perfectly as like a whole thing together. So this is that, and I was in a class where we were meant to do that type of composition as a homework assignment, but the class was like classical, like strictly classical counterpoint. So we were supposed to write a classical fugue in the style of J.S. Bach, which this is not actually that at all. It is a fugue, not in the style of Bach, because so the situation I was in at the time was I had a lot on my plate. I had this really big homework assignment due, I had other stuff due in other classes, and I really needed to get the intro for chromatic aberration done. I needed an intro. So the bright idea was to do a fugue on the theme of chromatic aberration, because that's the other thing about a fugue is that it's a very like thematic composition where the independent melodies are like very much handing off a common theme and like exploring the theme. So yeah, I used the theme of chromatic aberration and like the little side motifs in like the episodes between the thematic entries of the fugue. So this whole fugue is like, it's just chromatic aberration, like condensed basically. And I think it turned out pretty well. And so the idea was to do that and then use it for both the album and the homework assignment, 2 birds with 1 stone. So I did that, and I think it's a great intro, if I do say so myself, to chromatic aberration. And it was a C, or maybe C minus, can't remember, fugue, because it was not in the style of J.S. Bach for the homework assignment. That's okay. I still passed, and it was. I knew that was going to happen going in, and I accepted the damage to my score. Anyway, so that's that. I'll just play a little bit of that. So if you listen to this, like, it's all like obviously a lot of it is based on the main theme of chromatic aberration, which is easy to recognize, but the like in between parts are also like specific little motifs from chromatic aberration. Like this is like the big epic melody, the climactic section, and then there's this part. This part where it's like there's one of these melodies that has this like a little interesting little rhythm, which is like the rhythm of the like first breakdown, like genty guitar rhythm, but it's like fugified. So it's just like that kind of stuff going on throughout. And then, okay, here's the intro. And okay, this is, as a reminder, chromatic aberration was the first thing we ever wrote as Native Construct. This was freshman year of college. We were just getting the band together, and this was us just like jamming. This first part specifically was us just like jamming in the dorm. And actually, we started writing this summer before freshman year of college. Gabe and I started writing it over the internet. We were just sending files back and forth. We hadn't even met yet. We just met on the internet as incoming freshmen to music school. And we started coming up with this, and then we further fleshed it out through the dorm room jams later on. Here it is. Yeah, this stuff. So this is classic. This is literally the classic construct material. This part specifically. A synthy guitar tone on this one. This is a good example of what I was talking about earlier, of like the little articulations that we try to throw in a lot on the guitar parts. Like there's all these little like slides and like grace note type things, vibrato obviously going on with this if you listen closely. And I think it's really important. It gives it a lot of character. We were listening to a lot of Guthrie Govan at the time. So anybody who's heard him play guitar, you know, it's like everything's ornamented. Nothing is just like played like note, 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 you know. Fuzz City. Cool bass part here. Let's hear all the guitars and bass. Or just the rhythm guitars and bass. And there's this part later on where we get bass chords. It's very rare. Very rare even for us, bass chords. Right here. This was, I don't know if anybody remembers Scale the Summit. This is the Scale the Summit part. We loved them back in the day. Not this part, this part. Yeah, this is like Carving Desert Canyons, like happy adventure metal vibes. Yeah, suspended chords, yeah. And then the hardest turn you could possibly imagine, we'll get to that in a second. I wanted to show the vocals here though. And actually, let's just appreciate this groove change. This moment right here. It's so easy to do that, right? It's just, we're just repeating the same material, but you just open everything up, open up the groove. The chords are now sustained and open instead of palm muting, and it's, you know, again, it's a gesture. It's just like a moment. It's a movement to something different, which just always felt very nice to me. Fun fact, another fun fact, this keyboard part was partially recorded by an actual pianist, which is very rare for this album. Most of the time it's just straight up programmed keyboards. This was a guy we were jamming with in the dorms when we were first trying to figure out what the band was. We had actually a keyboard player in the first iteration of the band. This was like his MIDI, like electric keyboard MIDI performance recorded with like further tweaking via programming later. I don't even remember his name, unfortunately. It was so long ago. I think his name was Jake or Jacob. He was a nice guy, but I've not been in touch with him in many, many years. The guitar synth sound, Quincy, is it's just like the synth effects block in the XFX one. the original XFX, it just has like a synth effect, and we just used that. Very simple. 29 watching, 28 views. Or I think you mean 28 likes. Yeah, that's a great ratio. It's incredible. Anyway, yeah, this piano part. That was a really nice chord there. Yeah, this is all just totally buried in the mix. Like you can hear it like peeking out above the guitars and stuff, but you're not hearing it like this. Chromatic passing tone. Okay, that's that. Remember, these drums, these are a real drummer. I mean, I tweaked it some in post, but it's Anthony Barone on an electric drum kit in a little closet practice room in the dorms at school. Delivered an incredible performance. So like, I'll just play a little bit of that real quick. Oh yeah, I shouldn't have paused it there. Listen to this drum part. It's just so interesting. It's so creative. This is not, I didn't write this. This is Anthony. That little, it's hard to, let me give it some context. It's hard to understand what even is happening there without other instruments. I guess, yeah, let's just do this whole thing right now. Guitars, boom. Okay, so this is like a djent breakdown. Djent was a big deal at the time. This was 10 years ago. And so this went through many iterations of increasingly tighter and tighter guitar articulations. So here's what we have. Okay, listen to how tight this is. It's like more djenty than djent even. It's literally not even notes. It's just like dead note pick scratches. So this started out as like actual notes, just like pretty staccato with like a tight noise gate. And then when we recorded it, we were like, maybe that needs to be tighter. So we like edited it so it was like even tighter than we played it. And it just kept getting tighter and tighter until we realized like we actually don't even want a note here at all. It's like it needs to be so tight that the note disappears entirely and it's just like the attack only. So we just went to dead notes here, which actually turns out to be, I think, a really good idea because then that gives us the opportunity to then switch to real notes halfway through. And then that's like another moment where it's like, we're taking it a step up, kicking it up a notch. So we'll hear that. Yeah, so that drum thing that I was talking about right there, just like nobody sees that coming. I still don't see it coming, even though I know it's coming. And it's so tasteful. It's just enough to kind of flip it, and then it comes right back. And we're back. One more time. And then real notes here. So this is classic 8-string guitar stuff. This is like the Meshuggah-y, Animals as Leaders-y, Periphery-y guitar stuff. And again, this is what it started as, like in the first half. It was this originally, and then we switched it to just the dead notes. This is in the tiny closet. This is a crazy fill here. Listen to these ghost notes. We love the ghost notes. This entire album would be nothing without ghost notes on the snare drum. I hope you can hear them. I'm going to turn off the overheads, just the rooms. That's another hallmark of the Quiet World essence, which is the blast beat as a drum fill, which I think is a pretty good idea. I hadn't really heard people doing that at the time. But yeah, like the blast beat, instead of being the groove, it's just like a little fill. You just throw them in there. It's just like a little spice. You don't need blast beats all the time, but sometimes you want a little blast. Yeah, so this is all crazy drum stuff. A lot of this is just going to be drums, guitar, bass for a while, actually, pretty much. I mean, there's some other stuff, but like it's like a very like, it's like a Dream Theater-y, like the vocalist walks off stage and we just play crazy shit for a while and the vocalist comes back later type thing. I guess I should highlight the orchestra stuff here. This is a rare instance where it's like an orchestra patch, or it's not individual instrument samples. It's just like a whole orchestra as one patch. Actually, wait. I don't think that's true. I think that's wrong. Everything I just said was wrong, but I did mix them down to one stereo track with the reverb already on there. Gave it to the mixing engineer with already a ton of reverb on it, which is often a big no-no, but it worked out. So there's that. Crazy vocals here too. Oh yeah, that's the thing we did a lot on this track, the marimba. Again, a bunch of reverb like printed onto the track. There's not a ton to like highlight for these parts because it's just you can hear everything in the final mix. What you hear is what's there. It's pretty simple in terms of like layering. Just a little high rototom, That's comedy. Let's just hear that. Oh, Swim to the Moon, yeah. That was big for us. Yeah, this is all I can have like the synth. Where is that? So this is a couple things layered together. It's like a synth and a harp patch. And maybe it's a couple synths and a harp patch all blended together. Which is that's just like a really easy little quick tip for anybody who's making music. Just layer stuff, like blend things together to create like more interesting sounds. Like if you just always use like one instrument to cover like a melody or something, you're missing out on a lot of textural possibilities. So like you have like a single melody, just have it played by multiple instruments at once. Sometimes you don't always have to do that, but if you want like a thick, interesting sound, it's really easy to do, and it gets you a lot of mileage. Or even sometimes octave double, sometimes even just unison. Here's a little guitar thing that is really hard to hear. It's just a tiny little Meshuggah thing right there. There's a few of those on the album. Just a little blip of bleed. Which is like very difficult to play, and like you can't even really hear it. There's a lot of stuff like that. Also, very what am I trying to say? Very low effort to effect ratio for a lot of this stuff, but we did it. Listen to how tight it's like ridiculously tight. There's little like scratches in between. Little sauce on this note. Pretty in tune. Painstakingly in tune. All right, okay, so we got some other stuff now. Harp, you guys have heard it. You know it, you love it. There's this thing. Yeah, guitarists, we got to do a lot of shit, especially like prog metal guitarists and drummers. I mean, and the vocalists, everybody. It's the whole genre, really. It's like very, very high effort, and no one even likes it. So, JK, kind of. Baritone violin. This is programmed. It's our specialty. Pizzicato strings. Okay, this is This is a dedicated track. Look at this. This is a whole track for just this one part. This is the mandolin plus jaw harp plus steel drum track. It's a mandolin, a steel drum, and a jaw harp in unison. So again, layers blending. There you go. Here's another synth guitar thing with lots of articulations, and there's a harmony part for it as well some of the time. And then this is the crazy funk section. Let's hear Max's slap bass. The beach vacation section, yeah, exactly. There's literally beach vacation sounds. Or it's like, okay, so I got this sample off of freesound.org. Shoutouts. Royalty-free sound library. Free. Free and royalty-free. And it's just like a recording of like people, like a backyard, like a yard party. Is that what they're called? Yard parties? It's on the SFX track. Freesound.org. It's our little luau, baby. Hell yeah. What came first, riffs or drums? Generally riffs on this particular track. Yeah, it's just like folks hanging out. You can occasionally hear like a beer can opening. Yeah, there you go. So shout outs to these folks. They had no idea they would be featured on Quiet World by Native Construct. What else? Yeah, little bells and whistles. There's a lot of little percussion things on the album. Just those little details I think are important. There's a lot of depth, right? And that's the point of like, that's why I'm doing this, the multi-track thing, like, because there's so much stuff that, there's so much little detail that deserves to be appreciated 10 years later. Let me mute these crazy vocals. Sorry, Rob. We've all heard them though. You can hear the vocals just fine in the final mix. Nice guitar part here, I think. What makes me think to add something like that? The background noises. Honestly, it just needed something. Like sometimes you just need like space filler. Sometimes the arrangement sounds a little empty, but you don't want to throw more notes in. You just need like sound, like just something to fill the air. And then it also, so it's like that's an idea, and then another idea is, okay, how can we make that work like conceptually? How do you make it work with like this moment in the story? So then that like helps you decide like what exactly type of sound would make sense to use as the filler. So that's kind of how we arrived at that kind of stuff. Any genre interludes you want to include? I'm not sure what you mean by that. I don't think so. Feel free to clarify that. shaker, percussion. Oh yeah, so this is a drum solo. Again, this is recorded on an actual E-kit. This is Anthony Brown's drum solo. Pretty good. I think there's by the way, I'm pretty sure there's like a making of YouTube video. Actually, maybe there isn't for this. There might be a YouTube video if anybody's interested that shows this E-kit in the closet. If you search like the making of Quiet World, it might be in there. I can't remember, but maybe. I remember we were very amused by how many flams there were in this little moment of time. A little blast beat as a fill here at the end. Okay. Okay, I'll show you this. All the way down here on the sound effects channel. Check this out. So it's the backyard party, the beer cans and everything, the folks. And then so the problem is when you put something like this in, you then have to like get out of it somehow. Like when you have this like background foley filler sound, like how do you go from this to the next thing? It's like a really stark transition that needs to be made. So here's what it does. Listen to the background sounds. Okay, so part of it is just like it fades out as like really big reverb. That's easy, but then there's this little wop 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 thing. And so listen to how that fits in. It's just like a little thing that you wouldn't even really notice, but yeah, it just like it's like rhythmic. So this is just like automated reverb, I think, just like having the reverb come like way in and way out really quickly, but like automated in time, so it like sounds rhythmic. And it could have been like volume automation also, or other automation, some kind of automation. Yeah, it's like a reverse cymbal. Yeah, there's a lot of like reverse cymbal like things where like that's the idea. The gesture is like or like either reverse or not. But like you can just do that with like any sounds. They do that a lot in like pop music. Instead of just like a big crash cymbal on the downbeat of like a chorus, it'll be like some like crazy like noisy synth thing that's like super squash, but it has the effect of like a cymbal in that it's like this very high-end frequency like wash over everything that like hits really loud and decays. So it's like that's what a cymbal does, but it doesn't have to be a cymbal. It could be like anything doing that. So we use that kind of idea a lot for like transitions or like gestures to help like reinforce a swell or to like mark a downbeat of a new section or something. In addition to like the crash cymbals of the actual drum kit often. And sometimes we even just use like actual orchestral cymbal samples for that kind of stuff too. Yeah, this is the one track that's E-kit. And it was, I tweaked some of it in post because it's, when you record with an E-kit, it's just MIDI, so it's easy to edit, which is nice. Yeah, reverse riser, exactly. Or just a riser sometimes. Sometimes reverse, sometimes not. But yeah, this was the one, this was the one track that was originally tracked on an E-kit as opposed to programmed from scratch. Main goal. What was the main goal for this track? The main goal for this track was to figure out how to make music together for the first time and to just write some like crazy shit that was like fun and interesting to us. It was like the least serious of the tracks. It was the least focused. It was the most experimental and exploratory of all the tracks. Because it was the first one we did. And then we like really tried to figure out what the whole album was going to be and like focused the rest of the tracks later. But this was just like, let's just figure some shit out. Very experimental. Good question. Did we ever say, let's make the craziest shit ever? Maybe. I don't remember exact quotes, but it's entirely possible that we said that exactly. Yeah, Anthony plays with All That Remains and Beneath the Massacre, and I think some other bands. He was the North American drummer for Baby Metal for a time. I'm not sure if he still is. Yeah, he's killing it. He's a great drummer. Anyway, oh yeah, I was gonna show you this. So this is a cool guitar part. This is also really hard to hear in the mix, but I like it. You can hear like faintly there's like bass notes in here. Because this is like finger picking, like finger style guitar part on an 8-string guitar. So there's like low bass notes also that you can barely hear. Yeah, this is very tappable. Nice. Okay, that's enough of that. And just chords. Yeah, this is a nice groove too, I'd say. Oh yeah, there's a cool percussion thing here that, again, I wish was a little bit louder in the mix. Coming up here. Okay, this is just one track, one stereo track of Orchestra submixed. You've all heard this. I still remember making this on my laptop in the dorm room, like it was yesterday. There's a classic orchestral riser for you with the suspended cymbal swell and a nice timpani hit as the punctuation mark at the end. Is chromatic aberration a double entendre? Yeah. Yeah, it is. This is a really great vocal performance here. I'd say this is some of Rob's best work. Let's hear it.
Chromatic lights break through my jaded eyes. Though I've altered now, there is hope, there is reason still. Hold fast and live to see this through.
A little bit of heat on the vocals there, just a little bit of graveliness. Again, sorry, Zach, if you're watching, the vocal teacher. Yeah, I like it. It's like it's just a little bit, so you can still very clearly hear the pitch. It's not like a scream, but it's just a little flare on it.
I live to see this through, to fail to live my life now. I'd be failing more than myself, than what I can see.
Yeah, it's crazy after the backyard party.
Hold fast and live to see this through.
There's another like singing transitioning into screaming, and this is also a crazy turn that no one could see coming.
Live to see this through.
Again, if any vocal teachers are watching, you hate it. Okay, what else? I mean, that's basically the main point of this section. We can just take a quick peek at the guitars, perhaps. Quick peek at the guitars. What is soloed? Something here it is. Too many tracks. Here's the guitars. Again, this is like big chords with big distorted guitars. You gotta be really in tune to make these not sound like complete ass. So when I play this, I don't even like strum the strings, because it'll like the force of the strum can like knock it out of tune even. So I just see like a very gentle like finger style pluck of the strings, because you just have to barely like you just suggest some vibration to the strings, and then it makes a really big sound because it's distorted. And you want to be very gentle, so because when you hit it hard, it's like the vibration is too large and it pulls the string out of tune. Bass. Okay, there you go. And yeah, okay, let's get to the nightmare mode, as you put it. Hi, Mom. Jill, that's my mom. Heart to you too. Oh, that's a little too far, sorry. I'm big on tuning. Have I tried a true temperament guitar? No. I am big on tuning though. Sometimes when I'm playing certain things, I will like just detune the guitar a little bit. So it just, because like if I'm playing something that has like a lot of, like if it's a solo guitar thing and it has a lot of like fifths and octaves in it, sometimes if it's on the right strings, I'll just like tune it to the fifths or tune to the fifths, because it sounds more in tune. It's more resonant that way. So yeah, I do do appreciate some non-equal temperament sometimes, but it's just when you're doing stuff that's this big, like when there's so many instruments and stuff, it's really difficult to handle like non-equal temperament. You start to clash with it. It's like everything has got to be detuned then, and it's a whole mess. And then like key changing and everything. Like I really like equal temperament overall, I'd say. But in some rare occasions, I'll detune a little bit. Detune. Okay, we already heard the yelling. We can just mute that for now. It's the same kind of thing as the last track. The playthrough with the noodles. Yeah, that's awesome. Shout outs. All right, we got blast beats. We got, again, nonsense chords. Or not nonsense. It's just like, it's just dissonance, right? It's not like chords with names. Again, like, this is like a caricature of gent here, really. It's like gent to the extreme, where it just gets like tighter and tighter until it's just like not even anything anymore. Let's just hear that again. Just like super duper tight guitar sound. Okay, so this part, that's just like, at this point, we're just like smacking the strings. Da, 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 da. The whole idea with this section is just like, it is supposed to be like a descent into some sort of hell. And it's just like, it was trying to make the guitars like as like nasty as possible here. So it's like super dissonant, super just aggressive. And then, okay, we'll get to that. What else? Okay, here it is without the guitars or bass. Yeah, the drums are crazy here. This was, again, Anthony Brown actually played this. This is yet another mini Bleed reference. Meshuggah Bleed. There's probably like 5 of them on the album, I'd say, somewhere around that. So here's one of them. Okay. Yeah, the few little violin notes. Yeah, I did a lot of that like metric modulation type stuff where it's like you just start subdividing the cymbals differently and it like effectively is a new tempo. You can feel that here. Or marimba. Yeah, okay, so all right, so that just repeats. That's basically that. Let's mute that. Okay, I remember I did kind of change this drum part pretty significantly. Again, recorded with an E kit, but then messed with the MIDI in post. But this is pretty crazy still. How did Anthony learn this? Well, again, this part wasn't exactly what he played, but I mean, this whole thing, how did he learn it? He's a madman. He's extremely good at the drums. I don't really know how he does it either. Yeah, shout outs. Okay, a little gravity blast for the fans. Okay, then there's this. Nobody has ever recognized this as far as I can tell. But it's here. So this is, of course, this is like reminiscent of the intro of the whole album, like the intro to Mute, these little sounds. And by the way, this is just for context. This is like, wait, let me unmute the guitars. This is like right after this part. And we have this little interlude thing before the final breakdown. So let's just listen to this interlude again. Not Jeff Goldblum. Jeff Goldblum is coming soon. I'll show you that. But not yet. So like the idea here is like, this is the end of the album. This has got to be like, it's got to tie everything together. But it's tough because we wrote this track first and then we wrote all the other ones. So we have to like make it feel like it's still the ending to all of them. So there were various things we did to make that happen. But one thing was this, I very subtly put in just like a few of the main themes from the other tracks into this little sound effect interlude thing. So there's like, you can hear the tubular bells in the background here. That's the Come Hell or High Water shout out. Very subtle, like kind of on the right side. And then on the left side, there's a sample of the vocals from Your Familiar Face. You hear like, I wrote you these letters that, just very, very subtly. And then there's this music box. That's the passage. Wait, is that passage? No, that's Spark of the Archon. Back up. Yeah, so there's like little nuggets of the themes from the rest of the album, just like in this one little moment, very, very subtly. So that's like, yeah, composers were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should. Yeah, exactly. It's like, no one's ever going to hear this, but I just wanted it to be there. It's just so I know it's there. then the bump, 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 bump rhythm. And then, yeah, this is like where the breakdown is actually happening. This is in the background. And again, this is just like space filling. It's like if you just have just the guitar, bass, drums here, it's like super empty sounding. So it's just like, just makes it sound better. And it's like the sound effects themselves are kind of thematic because it's like using some of the samples from like the mute weird sounds. And it just, you know, makes it feel more like alien and like aggressive as well, which of course is the vibe in this moment. And yeah, there's like, there's also strings doing the breakdown. Yeah, so this thing, that's just open strings, just smack them, like the high strings. Again, ridiculously tight. By the way, to get this kind of tightness, it's like there's a very aggressive noise gate in the guitar patch, but then there's like also in post you like cut it so like there's no noise at all. It's like complete silence in between the articulations, and it's in between the attacks, and it's like obviously you get them perfectly lined up, so it's super staccato, super tight. You can hear a cut there. This is the final chord. I don't even remember how we got that. Yeah, I think it was like messing with the guitar cable or something. Little noisy bits. Okay, anything else in this section? Yeah, still with the marimba. There's like, you know, the marimba is like in and of itself is a motif, like just the instrument, like the sound, the timbre is a motif, and then also what it's playing. That's obviously an idea from way long ago in the track. Just try to keep things like woven in. Like if you hear it once, you should hear it a bunch, right? Because if it just happens once, then what's the point? It's like it needs to be like a character in the story. You usually don't have characters that are just like, I mean, you do sometimes, but like most characters in the story are like continuous throughout, right? And you like watch them change over time, like move through the story. So you don't just like meet the characters and throw them away, and then meet new characters and throw them away. So yeah, if you hear anything, you hear it a bunch of times, usually, just in different ways. Yeah, that's a great ringtone. No, there's no acoustic piano, strings, drums at the end. That would have been really appropriate, I think. Okay, and then here's this. Okay, by the way, this swell. Okay, so the idea is like it's like a big swell, and it's a big like dissonant chord. Like, it's not just gonna be like the one chord, you know, it's gonna be like a bunch of crazy notes, very dissonant. So that's like the main idea. So then it's like, okay, well, what notes exactly should you use to make the dissonant chord? And so that's an opportunity. Again, it's like I'm trying to make everything like woven in. So like anytime I have to decide something, just use that as an opportunity to like weave in a motif or something, you know. So this chord is just all of the notes of the main melody from this track, just played just all at once on top of each other. So it's not just like random dissonance. It's like, you know, it's the notes that we've heard throughout this whole track, really, but just stacked up. Now, again, nobody knows that but me. It's really just so I know. But I mean, if you got to choose something, why not make it, you know, a more specific, meaningful choice than just random? Yeah, very THX. Yeah. All right, there's the gold bloom. There's the final gold bloom. You can hear it much more clearly here. Yeah, our dynamic boy. So like in the beginning, if you were here when I was showing mute, it's just like a really subtle, just R, like just that, and it's like manipulated with effects and stuff. But here you get the R and a little bit more. Which is, I shouldn't even be showing you this because I'm pretty sure I'm not allowed to put, that's like owned by Warner Brothers. I'm pretty sure I can't just steal that sample, but whoops. Yeah, Merlin, it's like just in the intro, like the very beginning of Mute, where there's all those weird sounds going on. There's a very, very subtle, if you listen carefully, you can hear it. The very, very subtle just piece of a Jeff Goldblum Jurassic Park laugh in there. And then again at the very end. So Jeff Goldblum bookends Quiet World. And of course the that percussive thing, that like bell sound, it's like a singing bowl, like a Tibetan singing bowl. You like hit it and then you like scrape the edge of the bowl when it resonates. That's also in the beginning of Mute and the end of Chromatic Aberration here. And that's the real singing bowl. Actually, Gabe owned one. We recorded that, held it up to the mic. What is that? Oh yeah, there's a little boom, boom in the background. I forgot about that. Right there. I don't even know what that is. Classic move. Ends the way it started. Was it hard for you to know when to stop adding orchestrated parts instruments? That's a really good question. Was it hard to know? Actually, I don't really remember feeling like it was hard to know when to stop. I don't. It's a good question. I mean, I think I probably added too much sometimes, so maybe it should have been harder to know, or maybe I should have thought more about it. I don't know. I don't think I felt like it was hard, though. Sometimes you just know what it needs. Okay, so that's it. That's the last track. We've been going for over 3.5 hours. I'll take a few more questions if anybody has. Thank you. If you've been watching this all the time, that's wild. I appreciate it a lot. We still have like almost as many viewers as we started with. Pretty good. But yeah, if anybody has any closing thoughts or questions, you're very welcome. Thank you for watching. Yeah, there's so much more that we didn't get to. That was only 3 tracks, and it was only like tiny bits of 3 tracks. Yeah, there's a ton. Check them out. Check them out, the multi-track pack if you want to see more. What are my favorite 30 seconds of the record? It's probably the Karazu Nimupatu part in mute. It's more than 30 seconds, but if I had to choose 30 seconds, I'd say like the last bit of it, like however much, like wherever you would have to start for it to be like 30 seconds, encompassing like part of that section and then like the transition into the next section in mute. I really like the groove there, and I really like the way that it moves into the next section with like the high violin melody. You enjoyed it? Nice. Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, I might do it again. We'll see. I might do like other types of streams also, like maybe more, because like I think there's a lot of stuff I could do that like more people would enjoy also. Sorry to you guys, but like, you know, this is very, 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 very niche. But yeah, I could do some of this again sometime. Nice. I'm glad you guys liked it. That's sick. I really didn't know if anybody was even going to watch at all, so that's awesome. Motivation going forward. Sick. Glad you learned something. That's awesome. Get others involved? What do you mean? Guitar Hero. I'm washed at Guitar Hero. I used to be way into Guitar Hero though. Stream the writing of the next Native Contract album? Maybe one day. All right. Well, again, thank you everybody for watching. Oh, what type of music would I make for myself? That's a really good question. Probably stuff that is less niche, but not like completely unniche. I don't think that I am the best person to be doing like full pop music, but I really am interested now these days more in like music that like like normal people can listen to. Not that I'm normal or anything, but I just think it's interesting like what about music can make music like very easy to appreciate and understand, and like what attracts people on kind of subconscious level to music. Like, yeah, I'll leave it at that. So yeah, maybe something like less niche, but not super duper normie. If that answers your question. Sorry, my brain's fried at this point. Hopefully that made some sense. Let's see what else. Oh, others. Yeah. Any way to get others involved in the stream? Yeah, maybe. I can ask him sometime. I'm not sure. Re-release the original chromatic aberration, release the aberration files. Pretty sure I compressed my copy to save storage years ago because oh, tragic. I don't know if I even have that. Let me check right now. It might be on my old dead external hard drive. I wish the Windows search worked. That would be nice. It still doesn't really. So I don't even know if that, like, it didn't come up in the search, but that might just be wrong. Let me see. Yeah, I think that if anything, it's on my old external hard drive that has been dead for a while, but might be able to be revived one day. So I still have it in my garage. That one. That might be a pipe dream though. Yeah, pretty sure I don't have that. Sorry. But you can just listen to the compressed version. That's vibes. That's old school. Talent to make music that people relate to without realizing their complexities. Yeah. Because I think that a lot of popular music is very complex, but just like in the right way, in the right ways. Which I think that's difficult to do. It's harder to do than a lot of people think. it's like music that sounds simple but is like very well put together. There's a type of complexity in that, and very strong attention to detail required still, just like in music like this. There's a lot of detail in simple music too. Yeah, so that's a good point. Your first captivating interest into prog music helped you want to. That's so wild to hear, because that was BT Bam for me. Like BT Bam was the first prog music I ever heard, and it just completely changed my shit. And so for Native Construct to be that for you, that's so sick. Thanks for saying that. Yeah, Max Martin, great example. Yeah, the Bing. I never want Bing searches, and yet it thinks I do every time. Thank you, Max. Truly, thank you. You've been such a supporter, literally this whole time. Thank you so much. It's good to hear from you too. I'll always have the memories too with you guys. Did I fuck with Opeth? Yeah, I was an Opeth fan. Yeah, BT Bam is a gateway to Opeth, certainly. It was BT Bam, then it was Opeth, and like, all those classic prog metal-ish bands. Yeah, Protest the Hero. Blue Nowhere. Yeah, people were telling me like there's like a Native Construct-y thing on the new BT Bam album, and I did hear it, and I could hear what they meant. Which again is like, if there was any sort of influence from us on the new BT Bam, which I have no idea, but I mean, I think it's possible. They definitely know our music. If there was any influence from us on them, that's like the coolest thing imaginable. Because again, like they were our biggest influence by far. So for that to like flip back around, that's so cool. Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to do it for me if I can figure out how to even end stream. But yeah, once again, thank you all so much. Thank you for everything. And I'm sure this will